guys, and welcome back to the second episode of What You Think. You are joined today with me, Mel,
Momo?
Jang?
And Fezz.
and we are going to be discussing our thoughts and opinions on the second episode of our ever so wonderful Loki.
All of you who's not watched the episode yet, piss off as we're going to delve into spoilers, everything that probably ruin the enjoyment of you watching the episode if you haven't seen it already, because spoilers are no fun. So just a general overview. We're going to first get the negatives out of the way. We're going to talk about what we didn't like in the episode, and then we're going to move straight into positives, because it's always better to focus on the brighter things. Discussion on characters, anything that stood out, any analysis, and we're going to theorize about what's going to happen in the next episode, the ending, because oh wow, it truly opens the doors, or should I say branches out into new territories, and just give our final thoughts on the episode. So let's start out with the negatives.
With Loki, I really can't find anything that I don't really like. The only small nitpick was he was doing a metaphor and it kind of confused me and made it more confusing. But
And
other than
he
that,
would
it was fine.
He would
Yeah.
agree with you that it was not a good metaphor.
Yeah, he even, yeah.
I totally agree. The more he explained, the more confused I was.
Yeah, other than that, really nothing was bad. That's a nice thing actually about Loki. There's really nothing that I have a
I think Jang is just a loyal supporter of Loki at this point. There's just nothing bad about Loki to him.
yeah. I don't know why. I usually have some problems with movies, but this one I'm just like there's nothing.
Generally, I found the second episode to be really interesting. I think we understand more about the variant they're looking for, as well as thinking how the variant act. If I'm going to be really honest, I found the first half of the episode really slow. I felt like they were explaining too much of everything. And I'm like, okay, we get it. Can we move on? I really felt that the first half was quite slow, but the second half really made up for it. And yeah, the second half was so much better than the first half that I'm kind of now dying for the third episode to see what happens.
Like Jang, I think it's just really hard to find what I dislike about this episode. I actually really enjoyed it compared to the first episode. We're starting to get straight into things. I guess if I had to pick, I just wish we wouldn't have known who the hooded figure was until probably towards the middle or the end of the show. But I guess, I mean, it's definitely heavily to do with the plot, and we're focusing on Loki himself, so not exactly about the hooded figure and the big revelation of who that person is. But I still enjoy that scene regardless, though.
I agree with Fez, actually. It did feel a bit slow, but I guess that didn't really bother me because the nature of TV shows, it's not like a movie where it's building up to something. It's kind of like going up a hill. But like with a TV show, since you're in and out of it, the show does have to build up. So I understand what you mean by there's a slower pace in the beginning. But I'll say for me, I don't know why. It's the same thing with WandaVision, where when it ends, I'm not truly satisfied because you're kind of used to movies. So when it ends, I'm like, come on, that's not very nice. Is it, Marvel? That's not very nice. I get it, you gotta make a TV show, but I guess we're just so used to the binge model where I'm just like, next episode when it's done here, this one's like, oh, I gotta wait for a week. Because the cliffhanger in this one is so juicy, but that's a non-issue really in the grand scheme of things. I honestly, yeah, same with Jang and Fez and Mel Belly, any negatives. So I guess now we can start moving into talking about the brighter things in the episode. Is there anything that stood out that you just absolutely loved? I'm going to go off first. I just love the way the story is going because I just thought this was going to be a let's hunt the Loki variant, that kind of thing. Maybe Loki will meet different Loki variants, throughout the episode. But no, they're going straight into timelines that are just going to be branched out immediately. And it's just going to be mayhem for the next few episodes. And I just thought that was a really bold direction because you'd really expect that maybe in like the second half of the series. But no, this is the setup. And also the score, I realize is exceptional. Just sets the mood brilliantly. There's like this sad instrumental that plays every time he reminisces about Asgard. Oh, and don't get me started on the iconic song from Shrek 2 playing in the beginning. I've been rambling on, so I'm going to pass it off to Fez.
I actually like how Loki is portrayed in this episode. I love that he was so impatient and delusional towards his own goals, as well as finding the variant. I like also how we see a playful side of Loki, especially in the first scene where he was talking to Miss Minutes and making fun of Miss Minutes. I thought Loki's charisma really shined there. I also really like a lot Mobius and Loki's relationship. I think that was the highlight of the episode. The way they're bickering, as well as discussing theories and life goals. I thought it was really interesting and it was really refreshing to see them interact more. So that was the main thing I liked. Yeah.
I totally agree with Fez. I felt like this episode was just golden when it came to portraying the Loki that we all know and love, the god of mischief. He's such a child. And I absolutely love that. He was just so mischievous all around. And it was just really fun to see him and Mobius, the way how Mobius could only push him to do work if he asked Loki to treat it like it was some sort of competition. But I have to say that Loki wearing a suit like that and actually working is kind of like bringing my fan fiction phase to life because I never thought I would actually see Loki in that kind of position before, but I'm thoroughly enjoying this episode a lot.
You opened the door. What fan fiction did you write? Oh, tell us a bit more about it.
I did not write fan fictions, but I've read a lot of office AUs of meeting Loki at work and back in high school, and that was my absolute dream. And now I get to see a little bit on how Loki would actually be if he was actually working. And yeah, but I guess another part that I really want to point out was when they were in the convenience store in 2050. I forgot where that was, but when
Sweet Home Alabama.
was this Alabama?
I think it was Alabama, yeah.
Right. When the variant kept switching itself between different people, I really enjoyed that. It was very smooth, passing the torch to different vessels. I
And
really
that was
liked
such a
that
great
scene.
way to demonstrate Lady Loki's powers. Yeah, that was a great device.
For sure. I rambled on a bit there. What about you, Jang?
Oh, I got so much to say. No,
I felt that,
the
yeah.
thing that Fez said about the start of the episode was slow. It was a lot of explaining about time works and what do those little bomb things do and what are the rules of their time travel and stuff like that. And that was actually more interesting to me. I think I rewind like 4 times to listen and think about it again, understanding how time travel works. And I actually like that a lot. And I like that Loki asked questions, things that I was wondering about how the timeline works and everything. And they really explained a lot of stuff in the episode, especially why that guy didn't know what a fish was. And Mobius likes jet skis, but he can't actually ride a jet ski because it will break the timeline and everything. So that's why the explanation really just made it so much better.
Yeah, I gotta agree. I didn't even notice that the pace was slow or anything like that because I was too busy taking notes about the whole explanation behind Nexus events, Nexus timelines, etc. And I just thought that was really interesting. It's starting to really make sense now how the multiverse is actually working. And yeah, I just really enjoyed that.
Yeah, exactly. And Loki, you really need to pay attention. It's not like I don't know, other shows where you can just kind of like leave it on in the background. This one you need to really sit down and listen to what they're saying to really understand. And
Oh my
I
God,
like I like
yeah.
that really keeps you hooked on the whole thing from start to finish. So yeah, I really like that.
Since we're on the topic of exposition, I wholeheartedly agree with you. The exposition in the show is done really well because it's entertaining.
I actually really liked the way that they explained how the variant was escaping them. That the fact that he was hiding behind Apocalypse, because I was wondering that myself. What happens if you do something before an event, like a destructive event? It wouldn't matter, right? Which is what Loki proved in Pompeii. They actually showed him go to Pompeii and say like, you all are gonna die, and then they was like, oh, it makes no difference. That stupid metaphor with the salad, and then he put salt and pepper, and then he put like, I don't know, he put juice in it, and then I was like, what are you trying to so I just listened. Like, if I didn't look at the screen and I just listened to his explanation, it made sense. But if I looked at the what he was doing, yeah, only the
Yeah,
metaphor was slightly annoying, but other than that,
So yeah,
it was good.
the exposition is just this perfect mix of unraveling the mystery questions that we're interested in, as well as making it entertaining. So, if it's entertaining for us, then we'll be less annoyed. I would think I would get tired of Loki in the sense like, oh my god, we know you're backstabbing people. That's all you do. It's in your nature. But in the beginning when they're at the Renaissance fair, I was like, wait, is he good? Is he bad? Is there actually a Loki waiting outside? But yeah, I was on the edge of my seat. But I
Oh
guess I should have
yeah.
expected that he would be, for lack of a better word, BSing his way through that. Kudos to the director because the intensity was on point. I was like, oh no. And the beeping, one beep remaining, two beeps remaining. I was like, oh, okay, quickly. But yeah, he was just bluffing the whole time. You'll never get tired of Loki and his shenanigans. And I'm going to pass it to Fez.
I do have questions though that I want to ask you guys because I'm not gonna lie, I was quite confused. Do you guys remember like at the beginning of the second episode, Loki was explaining to the TVA how his powers work or how illusions work? Do you guys if you guys understand it, could you explain it to me? Because I was also quite confused, like how that works. Yeah.
So Loki pointed out two things: illusion projection and duplication casting. I actually took note of this because I needed someone to also fully explain it. But from what I understand is that illusion projection means that he's able to get a sort of facade that other people will see. So he'll create an image that everyone will see, but it doesn't change anything on his part, I guess. It's kind of like a screen or another mask or some sort.
Yeah, I think it is like that. From what I understood, I only rewind once, but one version is where he can just duplicate himself, like how he can make multiple Lokis, like how we've seen in the movies before. But he can't create like a Thor. He can't create like a Hulk. You know what I mean? He can only create more of himself or like different. Yeah. So I think that's what he meant.
Speaking of different versions of himself, I love the holographic different variants. And like one of them was like he was holding a trophy, and then one was this weird CGI monster.
It was like a Hulk and Loki combination.
They've had a lot of Lokis. But yeah, I really like that. Especially with Owen Wilson, you understood the urgency of why he's doing what he's doing, recruiting this Loki when no one believed in him. But there's something really interesting with his character, that he's different from the TVA in the sense that he has a heart, I guess. He seems to be more compassionate for human beings, because we still don't understand a lot about the TVA and their inner workings, but something about him is different and I have no idea what it is. So maybe if we're going into this direction of the TVA is a bad organization, if they wanted to reform the TVA, I think he is the key, or perhaps someone who could run the TVA.
Yeah, that was one of the things I saw that they highlighted, like when Loki was questioning Owen Wilson. He was saying that there's so many things that they could do because they live out of time, right? But all the Minutemen and Owen Wilson, they all don't really want to experiment. They just want to make sure the sacred timeline's intact. They don't really want to experiment or see any loopholes or anything. That they really just want to follow the rules and make sure nothing is broken. That's what I think why variants are dangerous, because like Loki, not even Loki, if any variant can start to question what are the loopholes or what are the small things I could do. But for all the people in the TVA, they all don't seem to care about any loopholes. They'll just make sure it works. Just make sure it works. So yeah, so really, like, I think Loki is gonna kind of like enlighten Owen Wilson to show him like it's not just protect the timeline. There's other stuff you can do.
Yeah, I think also like I'm not sure who said it. I'm not sure if it was Mobius himself or the other members of TVA, but they did describe Mobius, or he said himself, that he's attracted to broken things and broken people. And I just thought, I guess that's what makes him so different and likable, is that he really cares about people who are broken and he really wants them to do the best they can, even though they are not good or he doesn't trust them.
Free will versus predestination. Yeah. Do you guys think we have free will, or is our fates predetermined?
Are we going to go into the Matrix right now?
Oh man, that one deep question.
I guess, well, I just can't help but think about how maybe there is a bit of fun in chaos. I mean, Mobius did say at one point that existence is chaos. I do agree with Momo. I feel like Loki might influence Mobius in a way, and this will essentially change the TVA into being like, hey, maybe it branches on all that bad. We don't always have to be in linear format. There's a bit of fun in chaos. The world can't exist without chaos. It's not that the world will collapse with it.
How does Mobius know that Loki's lying? Because like there were so many times in the episode when Mobius pointed out to Loki, hey, you're lying. I know that's not true. How did he do that?
I think it's just a tell with him. Yeah, because he seemed to be on board with his bluff for 70% of it when he was like, oh no, this is a Loki, blah, blah, blah. Loki wants you to come out, I'll tell you an Asgardian phrase. But then at the end, I think he gave it up too easily when he was like, so I get to see the timekeepers. Yeah, it's imperative I meet them right now. He's like, yeah, right. So I think it's just a matter of, read your file a lot of times. We've met so many Lokis that at this point, you're like, aha, there we go. He's lying. But I think initially I was on board. I was like, oh, he's telling the truth, isn't it? There is a Loki outside. Everyone prepare your guns. But I think it's just like, I want to meet timekeepers, please. It's like,
And
Yeah, that's the
again,
funny thing. They don't have guns. They just have sticks.
Oh yeah, those like
yeah.
exterminator things.
And again, I mean, Mobius is the TV that's been in charge for catching the Loki variant, right? So I'm pretty sure he must have studied Loki again and again and again to find out his tricks and the little habits.
Yeah,
Just
he even
say-
said that he like studied his file over and over again, and he knows
Yeah.
every moment of his life. So he probably knows him too well. He's just like, I know when you're lying.
I'll just have one more thing to say. I thought 2020 was bad with the coronavirus, but it sounds like 2049, 2050,
Oh
2051
no.
Does not sound good.
does not sound good in the slightest. What is it? Climate change, hurricanes, all
Oh,
that.
This
yeah.
show would not age well if these things actually happen in 2050.
Didn't Endgame Infinity War predict something like COVID happened?
Depends on your government, I
God.
guess.
Do we have a variant?
So in the
Somewhere here or
UK,
something?
in the UK and Australia, you guys are out from lockdown, but it looks like we're still gonna be here until 2023. We're gonna wait.
Yeah, but
for
the nice thing is that in 2050, I saw in the background there is still Dove and Alienware. Those were the two brands I saw in the background. So those
Oh,
two
really?
brands are still there.
Lol.
So
Out
that's
of all the
nice.
things that Jang could focus on, he focuses on what shops are still gonna be there.
No, because he was standing over that minute lady. Yeah, he was standing over, and then I was just looking at the shop behind. What is that? And it was just like Dove, 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 Dove. I was like, oh, Dove is still around. That's nice.
Sparrows aren't around, but doves are. So yay to that. A lot of us will want to talk about that ending, right? Where,
Yes.
for lack of a better term, shit just hit the fan. I just have a question. Lady Loki, which Fezz predicted accurately last week, well done. I would give you a medal.
Wow. Oh my god. And I think Jang even predicted was she's gonna be blonde or something.
Yeah, Jang also
Oh.
predicted something else. Wait, what did you predict?
No, I was just thinking about that whole what if you do something before an apocalypse for fun in
And
my
he
head. I didn't say
predicted
anything,
that.
but yeah, I didn't say
Are you
it.
sure
I
you
should've-
didn't write the show?
Oh, yeah, Fez did call Lady Loki, and then I was like, oh.
And then you had me. Oh, is that the guy from Star Wars? Yeah. Okay, so I just have a question. We're gonna discuss the ethics of Lady Loki and Loki getting together. Is that legal? Is that ethical?
Is that legal?
Is that illegal?
Because there's a shot in the trailer of Loki and the blonde woman, which we now know is Lady Loki, looking out into the distance. So is it right for them to be in love? Is it just the kind of twisted thing that you'd expect from Loki to be in love with a version of himself?
Well, I mean, in Norse mythology, Loki actually got together with a horse. So I think in this extent, if it ends up with him being with Lady Loki, that would be fine. As long as he doesn't end up with a horse, I guess. I
So
don't know.
Yeah, I don't
a
know.
version of
also.
yourself is fine, but you draw the line at horse. Okay.
I draw the
Cool.
line at first.
So not a fan of Beauty and the Beast, I take it.
But okay, I'm gonna nerd a bit here. In the
In
comics,
the words of Islam, is it halal or is it fatwa?
no, it's halal, it's halal.
Halal, 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 yeah.
No, it's okay. So they were saying that this Lady Loki is in the comics. They call her. Wait, I wrote it here. Sylvie the Enchantress. So she's
Oh.
supposedly created by Loki and given powers by Loki, and so then she's just kind of Loki's servant. So that's what they are doing. That's what how it works in the comics. But maybe in this one it's Loki girl version, or maybe they're gonna do that thing that I said. That's why I was thinking that if it's supposed to be Sylvie and they follow the comics, then there should be like an old Loki which Sylvie is serving, and maybe this old Loki told Sylvie or Lady Loki to go and find our Loki, and that's why two of them were together. I
That's very possible because Lady Loki is really new. We only got to know her at the very end. So we also don't know her motives. We don't know why she's here. We don't know why she's doing all of this. So that could be true, yeah. In terms of if I ship them, nah. I hope they don't end up together, to be honest. I mean, I don't mind them working together, but not be together, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, in terms
Yeah,
of
kind of.
romance, I don't think so. I mean, it's just slightly weird. Like,
So
like
Yeah.
if
as the
they
kid,
do
you
it
know how they
okay,
like.
but if not, it doesn't matter.
So
If
they
they
always
do,
say
they do.
love yourself, but not to the extent of love yourself, given the chance.
Jang, are you hinting at, because she could be serving like an older Loki, so there could be another Loki and just basically more Lokis than we know or are aware of at the moment. Is that what you're basically hinting at?
Yeah, I was thinking like how they would get different versions of Loki out there because it's supposed to be the sacred timeline and our Loki is supposed to be the Loki, and he's supposed to be killed by Thanos and that's Loki's story. So then if there is this lady Loki and maybe an old Loki, where did they come from? So I was thinking, remember in episode 1 they were talking about there was a multiverse and it was all
Yeah.
chaos and everything. So I think maybe this old Loki and Lady Loki managed to survive whatever they did to narrow it back down to the sacred timeline. And that's why they've just been hiding out here and there from the timekeepers so that they don't get wiped. That's the only way it makes sense for there to be multiple different Lokis to me.
But I'm
Yeah, that's
just
what I was thinking as well, because even Mobius was saying, yeah, it's a variant of Loki, but we don't know which variant or which Loki. And I was thinking, what are you talking about? What do you mean which Loki? Isn't there just two, this Loki and that variant you're looking for?
I mean, we did see different versions of Loki in the beginning, but they all look like a variation of
They
Tom
just look like
Hiddleston.
his head on different body.
Yeah, it does.
Some
Yeah.
awfully weird.
Yeah,
And
but
what
how
is
does
it?
that work? Like
So no, I would always think there's like, so basically everything has to run parallel to each other. The issue is when things don't start running parallel to each other because of choices that some variants have made. That's my understanding of it anyway. So there can be different Loki variants, like 100, 1,000, but as long as they're going in parallel lines, it's all fine based on their choices.
Yeah, but how does it go in a parallel?
So they're
I
all
need to
part of
think
the
about this. I need to sleep
So-
on this. and
So
think
they're all
about
part
it.
of the, I don't know, the way I thought about it was just, or I understand it is, it's just a bunch of parallel lines just running in, but there's one sacred timeline, I guess, which is the one that we know, but to others it may be a sacred timeline. So as long as they just don't branch, nothing can branch. Everything just must go in a straight line, from what I understand, as they are
Yeah.
unraveling the end of the universe.
I guess
See,
that's what the timekeepers are trying to do as well. They said, what are the timekeepers doing? And Mobius explained that they were busy working on the epilogue of time to ensure that there can never be any infinite branches whatsoever, and there can only be one sacred timeline. That was what I understood from that.
Do you guys think we'll see the timekeepers within the
Probably.
series?
don't show the end of episode 6. Mobius, wow, I guess you can go meet the timekeepers, Loki. Wow. Okay, great. And then directed by the end of
Oh,
Loki. That
Yo,
would
that could
would
so happen. That
that would
actually could happen.
suck.
The other thing I also like is that, when Lady Loki set all those bombs and she started creating all the branches, if those branches don't get wiped, let's just say like in the next few episodes, if they don't get wiped, I think it's actually quite nice that there's because for Doctor Strange, like the multiverse of madness and all those things,
Yeah.
it will make sense that the branches all started from now, if you get what I mean. So like all the
Mhm.
Avengers, 2012. So everything's the same until this
Ooh.
point, and then it's spread.
Ooh.
I
So-
need to really sleep on this.
I think
just-
Jang could be right, yeah, because didn't Kevin Feige said that Loki is the show that will have the most impact in the MCU?
Yeah,
Oh
and
my
it's the same
God.
writer as Doctor Strange, so it's all connected. It's all connected.
Yeah,
I'm
and if you
calling
just
it.
watch
Jang is
Doctor
the writer.
Strange, but if you just watch Doctor Strange and you just like they say, oh, there's a multiverse, then like if you're just a regular Marvel fan, you don't watch all the Loki and WandaVision, like you just watch the movies, it would still kind of you're just like, oh, okay, there's multiverse, like. But if you want to know, like watch Loki, that's where it all started. You know what I mean?
Mm.
I want Mel's take on this. What do you think Lady Loki or Sylvie or whatnot, what is the motive of Lady Loki causing this mayhem, or should I say this madness?
I definitely think there is a bigger picture, because she did say that not everything is all about you to Loki when Loki asked her, what do you want from me?
Like,
So I
It's
am
not about
still
you,
thinking
it's about
Yes.
us.
the anthem plays.
all the Lokis.
It's about us, yeah. And then you have like 1,000 Lokis standing behind her. I'm
V
not
for
sure,
Vendetta
actually.
ending. We are Loki.
Oh man.
The destruction of Asgard really stood out to me. And I don't know, could Sylvie's intentions or motives have something to do with the destruction of Asgard and prevent it from, I don't know, being
mean-
annihilated? I don't know.
But why would they want to save Asgard? Because then Hela will just, still be wrecking it. There's no way
That
around
is
it. You
true.
have to cause a Ragnarok. I guess he'll just be sad that he can't rule over Asgard. He'll be like, oh man.
Yeah, so when he got sad, it wasn't because he lost his home, but it was because he couldn't rule over it anymore.
But see, I'm gonna go on a tangent.
Go
After
for it.
last week's episode, I rewatched Thor 1, Thor the Dark World, and Thor Ragnarok. It's not like he did anything as ruler. All he did was just eat some cherries and watch plays. He didn't do anything for the stability of the Nine Realms. It's just like he's feeding his own desire. He did nothing. If anything, he should have done something to try and stop Surtur or plan some migration.
Or
What
he,
is
he
it?
built a statue of himself. So.
Yeah, that's
Oh yeah.
well done.
Isn't that funny then? Because his glorious purpose is to just have a statue of himself while he eats grapes.
No, so like when he saw the kill count for Asgard during Ragnarok, he's just like, oh, I could have ruled these people.
All 9,000 of them, damn it.
Oh my god.
I'm gonna pass it over to Fez. What do you think the motives are behind Lady Loki causing all this mayhem?
I honestly have no idea. I really have no idea. I'm kind of going into with Jang saying that Lady Loki is probably working with older Loki, but before Jang's like theory, I thought maybe Lady Loki was maybe something like the old Loki in terms of maybe she wants to rule. I don't know what she wants to rule, but she wants to cause destruction so that the TVA is in balance and she can gain control of it, I think. But I think I might be wrong.
That's the thing. It's so unpredictable. It's really hard to actually come up with a theory for the future at the moment. I mean, it went to show with how stupid my theory was. I have no idea, definitely. So
Yeah.
I guess I'm just going to settle with Jang at the moment. I feel like he's
Yeah.
the writer of the show, so he's the most trustworthy.
Yeah, like I thought the whole show is just going to be about Loki working for the TVA, but now he's escaped the TVA. Now I really don't know what it's going to be about now.
I
This
thought they would
ending
really
took me
draw.
so off
yeah.
guard.
I thought they would really just draw out the cat and mouse game between Loki and the variant, but no, it's done. Loki just jumped in the portal. Okay, let's go.
Yeah.
That's why this is the best paced of the Marvel shows so far. Like WandaVision, I think by the fourth episode, you're like, or the fifth episode, you're like, okay, we get it. Sitcom, let's go. Falcon, I think if anything, it wrapped up a bit too fast at the end. Like the sixth episode is like, vroom, let's solve everything.
Yeah, it did.
Just like that. So far, this show is proving to be the most cinematic, probably one of the better paced shows, or the best paced among the three shows. So yeah, they just keep on getting better and better.
I think Lady Loki and Loki would team up, and she'll probably explain to him why or everything is happening, why is she doing what she's doing, and then I think that they're going to infiltrate the TVA. I really think that they're going to try and fight back against the TVA. Of course, now it's just like, oh, she's just creating chaos, but next episode I'm pretty sure they'll explain why, and then I think Loki would want to help Lady Loki because he said he likes the chaos. He liked the possibility that anything can happen. He doesn't like that things will always happen.
I like that idea, but I just feel so bad for Mobius because I feel that Mobius gave Loki so many chances. Do you think Loki will betray Mobius? I'm not sure about that part. Yeah.
I think that he probably will try and get Mobius on their
To
side.
join.
Mobius is compassionate and everything. So
Mm.
because of that, he'll probably poke at him that way and try and get him to listen. But yeah, that's the thing about Loki. Like they answer questions from the previous episode. Like the first episode, I had so many questions about how the timeline worked. And in this episode, they really answered that. And then now they're creating all these new questions with Lady Loki. So I really like the pacing of how Loki is going. They close up all these questions and they create new ones and then they close it out. So you can feel like progression.
That's a good point. Like closure before you meet new problems.
Yeah.
Lord knows I need closure.
As the kids would say, they better not fuck it up. 4 more to go. Can they maintain this? We'll see.
I just love that after years and years, they still know how to write Loki really well, and they still know how to keep his character as unpredictable as possible. At times, he seems like he's going to be on their side, but there are times when you're actually going to question, is he going to betray them?
I think at the end of the series, Loki Loki, I think he has a soft spot for Mobius, especially because Mobius sees the best in him or truly does pity him. So I'm gonna bet the end of the series is Loki giving him a jet ski or something.
And Cassie a fish.
Oh my god, yes.
Speaking of great side characters, we talked about Mobius, but I really am liking B15, Hunter 15. Her dynamic with Loki is just excellent. Remember the scene with the knives? Absolutely not. Uh, the ending when she's being possessed by Loki, and that's such a great device to show us in action of the capabilities of Lady Loki or Sylvie, whatever have you. But yeah, I really love that dynamic between B15 and Loki. Although it was probably a bad idea in retrospect to put the both of them together.
If the TVA goes by the rule that anyone who creates, what do you call that again? Nexus timeline.
Nexus
that
event.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, wouldn't if they were to follow by that logic, wouldn't the Avengers be punished for what they've done in Infinity War?
That's the genius of the show. Everything they did, you could just say, "Oh, it's part of the sacred timeline." It's a
True.
cop out.
Makes
And
sense.
Yeah,
Oh
they
my
also
goodness.
upfront said in the first episode, because when Loki was questioning it, they upfront said also, it's part of the timeline, deal with it.
So the best answer, I guess, is always to just go, "It's part of the sacred timeline." Ooh,
I'm
he
gonna
was
use
always
that
supposed
from
to
now
go
on.
down.
Why did you mess up? You didn't do your job properly. Well, it's part of the secret timeline. I'm supposed to mess up.
Exactly when you fail your exam, it's all part of
It's
the
part of
plan,
the
man.
timeline. It's part of the timeline.
It was
deal with it.
supposed to happen. It's already predetermined. Nothing I can do, right?
I'm simply just keeping everything in order, you see.
I don't want to create a branch.
Why didn't you defrost the chicken? It was a part of the sacred timeline. Keep the chicken frozen. I guess we should just wrap up and give our final thoughts on the episode. And I think I'll go first. Brilliant second episode. Great explanations to everything. Love delving into Loki, and I'm excited to see because it's going in a different direction than I thought it would. I'm just excited to see where it takes us. Will Lady Loki and Loki get it on? That's my big question. Is it ethical? Is it halal? We shall see. And Mel, any final thoughts?
This episode reminded me strongly, very once again, why I fell in love with Loki in the first place. And I am just so hyped and excited to see where this show will take us. It definitely took a route that I did not expect. So that was a very pleasant surprise. I have a very similar question to Momo. Will Lady Loki and Loki get it on? Or is Lady Loki a horse? We shall see.
Halal or haram? Fez?
I generally liked the second episode. I thought it was good. I thought it was a good build up to the TVA. Like the TVA is already built up, and I'm glad the second half there was a lot more action. It was a lot more tense. And I hope in future episodes, I'm guessing obviously, we're going to see the world outside the TVA or other timelines, I guess, or like worlds surrounding the TVA. And I also hope that we get to see Loki being held or put in a difficult position and see him in action if he is put in a position. But I can't wait for episode 3 next week.
And Jang, round us off.
Yeah, it was. I just need the explanations. I really love the explanations, and the fact that they blended it nicely with like action and suspense and explaining, but not in a annoying way. They really did it really well, and I hope that they keep doing it for the next few episodes, like just keeping it entertaining and amazing. Yeah.
As the kids say, don't fuck it up, Marvel. You're riding on a lot of goodwill, and I guess with that, we're rounding off the second episode. I hope you truly got to understand what we thought of the episode. And if you are listening on YouTube, do just leave a comment. It helps us a lot. We have no comments on the first episode yet, but if you are listening out there, be interactive. We won't bite, I promise you.
Do follow us on our social medias as well. We have an Instagram page and a Twitter page will be set up as well, quite possibly. And do remember that every like, every comment helps us a lot. We'd love to hear your opinions, etc. And it also helps spread our stuff out there. And that is really, I guess, very beneficial. And we'd like that very much. So thank you very much for listening to our episode today. And do look out for our discussion for next week's episode of Loki, episode 3.
Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon. Give us a like.